So today we're actually doing a canned goose, roast goose in a sous vide. So it turns out at the end just like roast beef. I think one of the reasons people don't like, wild canned goose or snow goose or whatnot is the blood and the fat and whatnot in it. So if you don't take the time to really prepare it and get it cleaned and cut off all the fat and make sure to wash all the blood out, I think that's what kind of gives it the flavor that throws some people
The
off.
gaminess. And I don't know why duck fat's so good and goose fat we're trimming off, but I can tell you one of my, I love bacon grease and bacon fat and butter, but out of all the fats, duck fat's my favorite, and I trim all the goose fat off. So I can't answer why that is, but that's the way it is.
Well, now that I got it all trimmed up, we're kind of ready to start. I'm going to tenderize it real quick and then season it and start putting it into the bag for the sous vide. So here's my one of my vacuum sealed bags that I took and kind of opened it up, just a thick piece of plastic more or less. I'm just going to go ahead and cover up the breast. So that way whenever I go and get to beating on it, it doesn't splatter everywhere. And this is something that the sous vide is gonna tenderize it a lot already, but I still feel like with the goose meat, since there is so many tendons in here.
It's a thicker piece of meat.
Yeah, I like it to be a little bit more tenderized than what the sous vide can go. So you can actually kind of see right there. I mean, it's, half the thickness already. There we go. So now we're gonna go ahead and season it, and what I like doing is salt, pepper, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and butter, and olive oil, and garlic, and onions.
Some more.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. And go ahead and just give her a pretty healthy dose of all these seasonings because, at the end, it's gonna go in a bag full of liquid, and a lot of that's gonna, I think, come off of it. But you're gonna slice it so thin anyways that the piece of seasoning that you're actually gonna get, just like a brisket.
It's a thick piece of meat, so you're trying to coat the outside to have enough salt for everything in between. So
yeah. So now we're gonna go ahead and put them in the bag. These kind of get all mixed up anyways once they're in there, so I don't think it makes a huge difference. I'd throw a little bit of onion in there. We'll throw a little bit of garlic in there. And just shove one breast in. We'll maybe go a little bit more. Yeah, butter, because butter's better. Right? More butter.
More butter. More better.
Yup. Then I kind of just pour the olive oil in last because that's gonna fill up all the little spaces anyways. You wanna hold that for me? Sous chef?
Yes, chef.
Is that it's all gonna...
Yeah.
It's all gonna work its way around?
When that butter melts, I think that'll be the
Yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, so now we have our vacuum sealer out right here. One thing, your vacuum sealer probably has a bunch of buttons on it, but except for doing like the auto seal, I hit the pulse and I just want to pull enough air out to the point where the bag's gonna sink. You just don't want it to flow. If you do auto, it's gonna pull all the juices out and you're gonna have a whole mess in here.
Yeah, it'll pull all of those juices into the machine, and then you have to clean the machine out. So.
And then you have to re-put all your olive oil and everything in the bag, so it just makes a huge mess. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in the front here. Go ahead and lock it down. I'm gonna hold kind of the juices up, and I'm just gonna tap the pulse until you start seeing it kind of suck out there. And then I'm gonna hit manual seal. There you go, nice and sealed off right at the top. So now we're ready to put it into the sous vide. Now we're just gonna go ahead. We have the sous vide set for 130 degrees, is right where I want it for this goose. So we're just gonna go ahead and dunk her in, and on this goose breast, we're gonna let it go 10 hours. Now 10 hours isn't just like a be-all number for everything in sous vide. It's just, the longer you do it, the more tender it gets, and goose is a little bit tougher, more tendons, so we want it to be in there for a while. But if you're doing like backstrap we were talking about.
An hour.
Yeah.
Like turkey's an hour. It was It was great. So depending on what you're doing, but a goose, we're trying to tenderize it a little bit too.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're gonna let go for 10 hours. So obviously it hasn't been 10 hours, but we thought ahead and we prepared for this video. And I got this one going real early this morning, pretty much. Same exact, recipe and preparation. So we're gonna go ahead and you can kind of see, all the
cook down and
oh yeah, all the juices in there and whatnot. So now we're gonna go ahead and take it out of this bag, and we're gonna dry it off and do a little re-seasoning before we go ahead and sear it.
so you don't spill that all over the kitchen.
There you go. Okay. Now we just put some butter in the pan, got the pan nice and hot. We're gonna let it get brown, maybe a minute and a half per side. Since we did let it cool down a little bit, we shouldn't raise the internal temperature too much. Yeah, you can see it's getting nice. Oh yeah.
I'd go ahead and pull those.
We're gonna go ahead and cut it against the grain. It's gonna make it a little bit, less chewy and pull apart a little bit easier. So on the goose, the grain, especially in the bottom half, it runs this way.
Let me pull these tasty nuggets out of the way.
Mm-hmm. So with a goose breast, the grain runs, the kind of lengthways up here, it kind of turns into different muscle groups sort of deal, and you kind of gotta do it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of slice these things just about as thin as I can get it. Today we're gonna eat this hot, but to be honest, I like it just as much, if not better, cold. It'd be good in your fridge for a few days. You wouldn't want to keep it like lunch meat in there, for 2 weeks or so. But I mean,
it doesn't have all the additives and everything else. But it'd be good for a week in there. If you wanted to do a batch of them and kind of food prep for a week, you could have a number of meals in 1 week if you did a bunch of them at one time.
All right, so that's how you make the roast goose and the sous vide, and now we're gonna put it on a sandwich, and you can put whatever cheese and toppings that you want on it. So. I'm sure.
Bargained for.
That's the wettest sandwich I've ever seen in my life.
The 3 pieces came out of my mouth at that point. My teeth weren't strong enough. I grabbed a piece of gristle and it all slid out, man. Good.
Now you gotta make a whole new sandwich.
Yeah, it's your turn.
We might need to do the reaction shot.